2.99%, that's a little weird. What's going on there, right? I just move on. So I explain it to them because those are facts. I cannot change 25 years. 25 years is a solar thing. I can't be like, oh, let me see if I can negotiate the terms and go to 20 years. I will, yeah, let me get back to, Mary Powell, the owner, and see if she'll change it. You can't change it, right? I want them to feel like the rate can't be changed either. That just is what it is, what you told them. Okay. So I don't sit there and say, what questions do you have at that point? I'm going to tell you where I tell the customer, what questions do you have? So I tell them, cool, good news, sun shines on your house, you save money. If it doesn't shine on your house, obviously, you're in the same situation that you currently are in right this second. Are you guys ready for the bad news? And I will pull this sheet out when I say that exact phrase. I will tell them, are you ready for the bad news? I want them to be like, good, good, good. Crap. Here's the bad news. And it's actually not that bad, but I want them now breaking their preoccupation on what they were thinking about with the 19 cents or the 2.99% or whatever, and focusing on, oh, we actually don't know if we like for sure can get this quite yet. It all sounds good, but there's quite a process. So I'll pull this out and say, hey, so I don't write all of this down at one time. As I'm explaining it is when I'm writing it out. Okay. So it's completely blank at this point. And I'll write at the top, before we're thinking about this, it's at least a 2 to 3 month process. If you're in Florida and permits and stuff are a little bit quicker, cool. Say 1 to 2 months process, right? 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. If you're in a longer area that the permitting takes longer, maybe it's 3 to 4 months. I always want to under promise and over deliver. Okay. In my area, it only takes about a month and a half if everything goes perfect. So I always 2 to 3 months. So the homeowner's not badgering me, a month down the road, like, where the heck's the solar? Where this is taking forever. I already told them, hey, it's 2 to 3 months, like, back off. The first step, I put the first checkbox. I already came the other day and came and looked at your breaker box and took your utility bill, and they made a custom design. So we're already done with that. The second step, I just explained the program. So congratulations, you just sat through the spiel. I'm going to show you the design in just a second. And then the third thing before I leave, we are going to schedule what we call a site survey at your house. Remember, if you're doing HQS, obviously maybe you're dropping, hey, before I leave, I'm going to take some photos because your home is a lot newer. And those photos they're going to upload, and they may be able to get a design back faster. Your house is 5 years old, so it's not a big deal. So we may not have to send anybody out to this house. They're going to let me know in just a second. Okay. In order for us to schedule the survey and get results back for your house, they have to have a couple things on file. The first thing is the offer from Sunrun. So obviously everything that I wrote down on this pamphlet, you don't have to like trust my scribbles. Like you don't have to frame this in your house. It'll be in writing for you. You can review. You have like, 2 months to take a look at it. The second thing is the utility company has to approve every house that we do, right? So we can't just bypass them and do it without their approval. They have to be ones that also approve, or they could reject the house, right? So it just depends. My job is to figure out, obviously go through this process, but we have to do those two things. Have you guys ever used DocuSign before? Okay, cool. Both of these documents are done through your email through that. Okay, so we'll do that in a little bit. Why am I talking about documents right now? Someone answer that for me. Someone that maybe hasn't been on this call that much. Why the heck? I'm not signing the agreement right now. Why would I bring it up? And why would I talk about the utility application right now?
Soft seating to let them know that they're going to sign.
Yeah, Sandra, AJ got it. Yep. So soft seating. I want them to know he said DocuSign. That means I'm signing something. If they say, oh, we're not signing anything today, they're going to bring it up right here. I'm not going to get through the rest of it. Like, oh, we're not signing. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like for your survey, like you have to do it or I can't like send a surveyor. Like we can't even get the results back. It's just the written offer. Like, don't worry. Obviously, the utility application, we've got to get their approval. So most people are just like, they don't know what's going on. So I'm guiding them through the process, right? So I soft seed those. In Illinois, you guys have a different document as well, the AVP to begin with. So I'm going to write that in there. Hey, we've got to do the state disclosure. Like Illinois is very involved because of this Illinois Shine program. So we got to do that. And we got to do a written offer from Sunrun. And then the utility company's involved too. So we have to do these three things before they can send a surveyor out and like see if we can physically do the home. So I'll do that through your DocuSign. You've done DocuSign? Okay, great. Yeah, I'll do that in just a little bit. No worries, but I'm just giving you a heads up that we got to do that right before I leave. The survey then is going to come and he's going to look at three things, or she. He's going to look at your electric panel. You said that was in pretty good shape, right? I looked at it last time. It looked okay. It was 100 amp, I think. Okay. You guys don't trip any breakers. Have you had electrical issues before? Okay. Like you haven't, as an electrician, ever like modified it? No? Okay. It's always been in that same spot and you haven't had issues. Okay. Do you remember the last time someone looked at it? No? Okay. All right. So like I said, those are like 50-50. So we'll take a look at it. The second thing is your roof. Have you guys got your roof done recently? It's been 10 years. Oh, so brand new essentially. Okay, great. Someone's like 20 years. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like, getting to the life. They're definitely going to take a look at that. Our goal is we want to obviously work with everybody, but we can't. So if your roof doesn't pass and we can't like find some way to work around it, unfortunately, we'll just reject the home and have to move on. But he definitely checks that out. The third thing is the structure of the home. So we make sure the attic and who built the house did a really good job and they didn't like cut corners. Personally, I love when we do these surveys because it's a free survey you get done at your house. And whether solar or not makes sense, but like you at least get some results back to see what happened. It's obviously pretty good. So this is where we lose most people. It's a pass or a fail. If we can't do the home and we can't find a way to get it approved, then we will unfortunately just reject the home. Nice to meet you. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it work out and we'll work with somebody else. If it passes, awesome. That just means Sunrun feels comfortable working with the home, but we're not like quite there yet. They're going to send me a final design and I will come back and explain the final design to you if anything changed or if anything didn't. If they come back and say, hey, we had to move 3 or 4 panels here, I'm just going to show you the updated design. And then I'll also set you up with our Sunrun app. Do you guys use apps? Everyone in America does. Yeah. Okay, cool. The Sunrun app's really cool. It kind of replaces this sheet of paper. It shows you where you're at in the process now that you have like a final design. But it also is going to track your solar production, and you can also pay your cheaper electric bill in there. Do you guys pay the utility company online, or do you guys set up auto pay, or do you like write a checkout like no one does anymore? And everyone's like online auto pay. I'm like, all right, cool. Remind me. I definitely, when I come back, I know this is down the road, but make sure you remind me to set up your auto pay. You get a big discount for having auto pay set up. It's like 5%, I think, off of your electric bill just by doing it. So remind me to do that in the app when I do it. Okay. Let me go out of role play mode for a second. Another soft seed for payment, right? So if someone's like, oh, auto pay, this is great. Yeah, everything's great. I'm going to grab auto pay at the VC. If they're like, yeah, we mail a check. We never do auto pay. I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to grab it at the VC, but I'm definitely telling them 3 or 4 times, if the design comes back, you have to enroll into auto pay. So it's not like a weird thing when I come back at the cap. Okay. So I'm soft seeding it and I'm gauging a little bit right there. If someone's like, oh yeah, we've done auto pay for the last 10 years on our electric bill. I'm like, cool. We do the same thing and you're going to get a discount, like high five, right? The next thing after I come back, if everything looks good and we agree, obviously the township has to approve all the permits and the utility company has to approve every house. This is where the time takes a little bit longer. It takes about 3 to 5 weeks before, we'll kind of know those answers. But like I said, my job is I'll update you if anything changes. If everybody approves it, the install of the panels only takes about 6 to 8 hours typically. If it's a big job, maybe it takes a little bit longer. They come back the second day to like wrap up. But I want to be pretty upfront with you. This is where I don't know if you are curious to like where people complain the most. I would say it's like right here after the install, we're 70% of the way completed with your project. Some people think I have the solar on my house, so automatically like it's working. So I personally just I'm very upfront with customers and I want to be make sure I'm very transparent. Even though you're not even close to getting the panels right now, we're gonna have panels on the house before the inspection and everything's done. Like they won't be working. They're gonna be up there for a minute. It's not gonna be, a year, but it may take a couple weeks before all the inspection and everything passes, kind of like, buying a house. You don't just sign the house over and you get the keys the next day. Like it takes time. So I just want to be very upfront with that. Hopefully that's not a deal breaker. Everybody right there is like, no, don't worry about it. We know township sucks. Everything sucks. People suck. You're like, yeah, township sucks. People know. And I've told them right here at the VC that it's going to take some time. So when they ever get mad at me at the install that it's taking a long time, I can go back to this and be like, hey, remember, I told you we were not done yet, right? It saved me a bunch of headache and a bunch of complaints. Okay. After the install, the township will come and inspect it, take care of it, and then the utility company comes after that and they give you permission to operate. I always write this ACH discount for you guys because please don't let me forget. It's nothing worse when you have to pay extra fees or whatever just because you didn't enroll in the auto pay. So I will set that up with you today. If they're cool, if they're like, no way, there's no chance. I'm like, all right, cool. When we get the final design back, we have to set it up or they won't let us proceed to the permits. Okay. Okay, cool. Whatever. So this is my sheet. I love it because if you're brand new, you almost could just like walk in and like go over this. It gives you where you need to go and what's the next step. And you have some talking points and you're not just talking to customers. If you don't have anything that you're writing or showing a customer and you're in their house for an hour talking only, imagine how much they retain, right? If I spoke on here and you guys actually aren't taking notes or screenshotting or whatever, you could leave this call and be like, that was really good. Cameron's really good at closing accounts. Like, what'd you learn? You're like, something, but I didn't retain any of it because you can't just like talk to someone. That's why Zoom calls are kind of hard without like interacting and like writing stuff down for them to retain what happened. Okay. I also want them to look at this rather than go through their email and read the entire contract because they don't know what's going on. I want them to be like, oh, we got to have a survey. After the survey, he's going to like come back. Okay, cool. So let's just wait to have our question when he comes back if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then there's no point in asking the question. Like they talk themselves into waiting for the cap design. Okay. I then go to their design. All right, cool. Before I go to the design, my transition to the design is what questions do you have about the process? This is where I open up questions, okay? Not at the magic box, not about the rate. This is where I open up questions. Hey, so what questions do you guys have about the process? And they say, I've really been thinking about that electrical panel. We tripped a breaker last week when I plugged this in and plugged this in. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, we're gonna look at it. Unfortunately, I really hope it passes, but I'm not like the electrician or the engineer that passes them, but I'll definitely check it out. Okay. That question is great. That's a buying question, right? They're already thinking about the survey. They're already envisioning the solar panels on their house, but they're like, crap, what if that thing disqualifies us? We're screwed. We're not going to be able to get it. If they say, yeah, that sounds good. The 25 years though, like it's 25-year contract. If they say that, I know they didn't listen to all of this and they were hung up on the 25 years I talked about 10, 15 minutes ago, right? If they're asking you a question about anything on this paper, it's great. Hey, does the township ever fail people? Yeah, sometimes. Like we obviously blah blah blah. The utility company, do they pass everybody? I'm like, not everybody, but most people should be okay. Now you can kind of build that up, and they are also like realizing, right? That's buying questions that they're asking you. All right, then I pull open. Cool. Let's look at your design. My little spill on designs is I always have the design and I have it zoomed in just like this, where they only see the design that I built, right? You're incentivized to make the best possible design for every house. Your pay is tied to it, sun run benefits if it's a good design, and the homeowner. You're not incentivized to make a bad design for a customer. That's why I believe customers really shouldn't have a say in where the panels go because they're not the experts. If they're like, Cameron, politely get out of my house. If you can never put them on the front of my house, I don't care if I saved $1 trillion. I'll say, okay, today we're going to keep them on the front. Okay. I'll show you some pictures, blah, blah, blah. If I'm allowed to remove them after the survey, I will call and let you know. But if they're like, it's really like your front of your house gets the most sunlight, so it's just best. You're going to save a lot more money than being on the front. I promise you're not even going to notice these things are up there in about a week or two after they're installed. If they're like, yeah, that's cool, but like I said, I will actually probably kill you if you put panels on the front of my house. I'm like, all right, after the survey, I'll see what we can do. Most people, if I build them up, like, hey, good news, average person in this neighborhood is getting about 25 panels. You guys did 34. Honestly, whoever built this house, honestly, probably thought solar was in the future because I would say your house is like solar home run, like high five. If they give me a high five after I say that, they're essentially just signed the contract, like they're in, right? It's little teeny wins and yeses I'm getting along the way to know like this person's good to go, right? So don't get frustrated with a lot of you are like, oh, my homeowner doesn't want it here and doesn't want it here. I'm like, to me, that's your decision. You put the panels where they're supposed to go because you're incentivized, Sunrun's incentivized, and the homeowner wants you to give them the best possible design, right? So just make sure you're doing your design. I spend 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. I rarely talk about it. I'm just like, good news, high five. All right, next is we got to get the stuff done to get the surveyor out here. All right. So paperwork, let's have a little talk about that. Paperwork is only a big deal to them if it's a big deal to you. I'm very confident that a lot of people that are readers, you're going to get, I guess, readers every once in a while and you can't overcome it. Most of the time, though, they should be clicking through the agreement like they're agreeing to terms on their phone when it updates. Like, do you want to agree to terms to update your phone? And we all just click yes and we don't actually read the terms, the 38 pages that Apple or Android sends to us. We just click, yes, I agree, update my phone now, I need to use it. That's what paperwork should look like. Yep, sounds good, everything's good, let me send this to you, and it's not a big deal to you, then it doesn't make it a big deal to them. If you're like, hey, yeah, so we got to sign this, agreement, it kind of is a little lengthy, but don't worry, like this is not binding or anything. They can sense that and they're like, I don't know, this is kind of weird. What are we binding to? Like, why did they say that term? Right. So I always refer to it as our written offer because that's all it really is at this step. It is the agreement, but it really is a written offer that will actually become an agreement if it all gets approved and we actually do the install. A contract is only a contract until work is complete, or agreement's an agreement until work is done. I like to think of doing the agreement as like that work order that a contractor writes up for you and it's like, hey, here's what we could do if you agree to it. And then if we agree to it, we signed it, and that is what we say, right? So I always say written offer. Contract is a red flag. Nobody wants to sign a contract. None of you on this call, if I said, hey, I got a contract, can you sign it? You'd be like, what the hell is this? I'm not signing no contract. What's this contract, right? So we don't like that word in human nature. I don't like contracts. Written offer, I'll actually be fine with that. And then obviously down the road, we'll see what that turns into. Cancellation policy. I'm curious, anybody on this call that can come off a mute and say the cancellation policy, how I've done it on previous calls. Who's the brave soldier on the call? A lot of you are doing this. You can cancel at any time. Don't worry. Today is nothing final. You can cancel this whenever you want, all the way up until the install. People, I promise you, some people on this call potentially have done it this week. And what that's telling the customer is, why would I cancel? Like all the stuff he or she has said to this point, I don't know, it's pretty dang good. So why would someone cancel? I don't know. Maybe Google knows. Let me Google, why do you cancel solar panels? I promise you they're going to find some crazy stuff, right? So we should not be saying that. Let's see. Alexis, were you gonna brave it? All right, let's hear it. This is how you should say it, I hope. I like it. I like it. I'm gonna give it a B plus. But you're on the right track. I really like it. That's gonna get by 99% of them. Um, so the best way,
I,
or how I've always found a lot of success. Thank you, Alexis, for giving it that's brave enough for me. So you may be an A minus now that I think of it. So I, I like to think of it as this. Remember, so as the customer is about to sign, I'm like, hey, just a heads up, like just because I came to your house today doesn't mean that Sunrun is going to put panels on your home. Like we're not committed to this house by any means. I just want to be very clear on that. Some people, they feel like since I came here, like they get approved and they get really upset if for whatever reason the house gets rejected. So Sunrun's not obligated to this house at all. Obviously, vice versa, right? And that's it. They're like, oh, okay, he said Sunrun's not obligated. So Raheem nailed it in the chat. But I just like to mention that it's almost like we can cancel them, but they can't cancel us. But at the end, I tell them like, yeah, that goes both ways, obviously. And so I'm not saying like you can cancel anytime, but I did say like you definitely aren't committed in that type of sense where they're not feeling this buying pressure. They're about to sign the agreement, so I want to relieve the buying pressure. Hey, not a big deal. You do this all the time. In life, we sign stuff all the time without reading it, especially if you have any electronic device, you guarantee have done it. I like to show the cover page of the agreement on my iPad before I send it. So I'll click the little read link in the checkout and show them the cover page where it has all the warranty, whatever. I don't go over it for 20 minutes. I just say, hey, I'm going to send this to your email on your phone. It's a little bit smaller, so I want to show you what I'm sending you. So when you see it, same thing. Obviously, we warranty it. Here's the stuff. In the summer and wintertime, it's going to produce a little bit different because of the sun. We don't control that, of course, but obviously the 16 cents, 2.99% cap. And then here's the process, okay? So I'm going to email this to you right now. Once it gets to your email, you just got to click through it a couple times, and it'll send it right back to me, okay? And then I'm really good when I send it to them, like, cool, did you get it? All right, cool. Click the email. There's a green bar that says view documents. Click that, okay? Your phone's going to ask you if you're, allow your location or not. You can allow or you can click block. It doesn't matter. All right, great. The left bottom corner in the left, there's a checkbox that says you're on your electronic device. Click that and hit next. Okay, cool. Now the document's open. You can see a green start or next button in the top right. If you click that, it's going to tell you right where you need to just autograph quick. So click that. It's going to be your best friend. You can sign your name or you can click the select styles or it does it for you. All right, cool. Once you've done all of them that you need, that button will say finish. All right. Cool. Yep. Click finish. All right. Great. Yep. I got it back. All right. You did a good job. Let me send you the utility one. Okay. That's how it should go. I'm like talking to them and walking them through it. I'm not like sending it and just sitting there and watching them. Like, so you're reading everything? No? Okay. Do you want to stop and read it? I'm just telling them what to do inside their house. They're on their phone and people want to be sold. I promise you, people want to be sold. They want to make it easy. So I just tell them where to go. I'm not doing it for them, but if they're across the table, I know right when they click the email, I know all the steps that need to happen. Okay. So your first couple VCs, pay very close attention if someone's assisting you on how they're navigating the document. Okay. Last couple things and we'll wrap up. So prepping for the VC, I always call it a compliance call, and that we're publicly traded and they're very strict on my role. I could have told you guys are getting a new car and I'm paying your house off. Everyone laughs at that. But no one was sitting here with a publicly traded representative saying, did Cameron go over these things and you understand them and he's not buying you a car? Okay, cool. So you just have to say yes to a couple questions, but I'll schedule your survey here in just a second before we do that call, and then make sure we download that Sunrun app so you have it. Cool. And then when I build rapport, I say, hey, I've been talking a lot. Do you mind if I grab a glass of water from you? And immediately a customer's guard gets let down. They just signed the agreement. They're waiting for the VC. And they're like, crap, he's been in my house for 45 minutes and I haven't got him or asked him for a drink of water. Yeah. So that immediately is like they become now your friend a little bit and they're serving you in their house. Now you're like, all right. If someone's like, no, I'm not getting you water, I'm like, okay, obviously this deal isn't going anywhere if they're not going to get me a glass of water, right? So, hey, I've been talking a lot. Before I dial this, do you mind if can I bother you for like a glass of water? Oh my gosh, absolutely, honey. You didn't ask for a glass of water, blah, blah, blah. Immediately, you become more of a friend inside their home, okay? Magic box, I'm not going over this, but I'm just showing you it has all the details that could be questionable in the VC call. They're like 2.99%. He never went over that. And I'm like pointing at it. I'm like, yeah, I did. It's right here. The solar rate that I told him or the monthly payment. You're still going to get bills from JCP&L or the utility, the warranty, the power outage question. I'll write above that. So it has a lot of info on the magic box, anything that they have questions about. And then I'll always write this. I would screenshot this. This is like the questions that's asked kind of in order for the VC call. Remember, the VC call can change in a day. Okay. So right now we can modify the bot like real time and it'll go out immediately and ask a new question. We try to keep everyone updated if something does change, but they're slowly making the wording a little bit better. But go over. So I role play with the customer. Hey, here's the questions they're going to ask this and let you know that you get a discount if you sign up. So if you want to do that today, I can definitely help you. If you want to do it the final design, I can do it as well. After the survey, we want to match that design as close as we can, but it could change. We're not committed to your house today. That's the cancellation policy. If the power does go out for grid safety, your system shuts down, and then you're going to copy of everything in your email. Cool. This robot does a good job if you say I confirm instead of saying yes. You can say yes, or you can say I confirm. Either way works, but sometimes it'll repeat the question if it can't hear you. So I just want to give you a heads up. Sometimes I confirm is a little bit better, but I'll dial it right now. And I just dial it and throw it right on speaker if it's quiet. If there's a lot of background noise, I'll put it to my ear and wait till they're ready to ask questions and then hand it to the customer. Okay, quick takeaways and I'll breeze through some questions. The steps in the process sheet should be like 15, 20 minutes. It should be like half of the call, or half of the VC. You notice I asked detail about their electrical panel, their roof, their structure. I asked them a bunch of things about those things because I want them talking about it, right? If they're just sitting there listening to you and you're not engaging the customer, they're probably not going to get installed. They don't really care what you're saying. They want to know what's actually like happening. And if they're engaged, they're definitely going to talk and be attentive in the end when you're presenting. The design is quick. Don't spend 25 minutes talking about the inverters and the panels and where they're made and how solar actually collects the sun's energy. Like, they don't care about that. They're just like, hey, how does this work? And like, what's the next steps? So it's quick, easy, short. Paperwork should be easy. If you're having a hard time with paperwork every time, it's because they don't trust you. You're not explaining it, soft seating it, talking about it enough probably before it gets to that point. So it should be all of the VCs, 8 out of 10, they should just click through the agreement, no problem. You're going to get a lawyer here and there where they're really going to read it, which is like whatever. That you can't avoid. But I'm saying if you're getting a person that wants to read the contract every time and you're really struggling through it, you're doing something incorrect that's causing that to happen. That's not because the agreement's weird. You're just not bringing it up properly. Verification call, make sure you do a walkthrough. Don't just like dial the number and like throw the questions in their face. Like I do a whole walkthrough. Here's what they're going to say. Here's how they're going to say it. And I like have my pin and I'm pointing to each question as that bot is asking the question. I want them to ace this and never have to do it again. And then I'll grab ACH right after the call, depending on the customer, right? Ideally, we'd love to get every VC have ACH on file when you leave the VC. I think it's unrealistic to have those expectations, even though some do. Some of them you're going to have to grab it at the cap, right? But I definitely told them a bunch at the VC that we need that thing before moving forward. All right. So I love ACH. I think it's a good heat check. And I think it's good for all of us to know, like, oh, they gave us payment. They're definitely moving forward. If they didn't give you payment, then there's something off. They don't trust, so they probably weren't going to get installed anyways. Okay. All right. It was a little bit longer because Taros, I gave some recognition.